Today's sponsor of the Vision Quest podcast is 920 Hat Company. Leather patch hats are in, and 920 Hat Company is here to hook you up with your very own custom hat. All patches are lasered on top-grade genuine leather and on popular brand hats like Richardson and FlexFit. Whether you're looking to show off your business or want a one-of-a-kind hat for yourself, 920 Hat Company can do it all. All the hats are handcrafted right in the Fox Valley, but worn across America. With over 500 hats in stock, they guarantee fast turnaround times. Honestly, Liam, looking at these hats, solid, right?
Yeah, they're pretty. I like them.
I like that patch itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, one-of-a-kind stuff. I know his name's Trevor. He does great work. He's actually gotten I think we got a knit hat coming.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we got that coming. So we're really excited to have these guys on board as a sponsor. So get down to check them out on Facebook. I believe they're on Instagram. Check them out, man. They got the best hats, I think, in the Fox Valley, if not in the state.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. So get down to 920 Hat Company on social media and check them out. All right, everyone. It's yet another episode of the Vision Quest podcast. Very special guest here. I think I'm just as excited about this one as any other one, but a little bit more. A little history with you. We've known you for a while.
Absolutely.
Coach Chris Gennrich of the Hortonville Polar Bears. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Hey, it's awesome to actually have you guys on. Like I was just telling you before, I mean, everybody gets to tell you, ask you about your season, your wrestlers, stuff like that. We're going to talk about that.
Right.
But we want to find out about you.
Okay.
We want to know about the coach.
All right.
So you're from Wisconsin? So I'm going to start with that right away because sometimes you guys aren't. You come from away.
Yeah. I'm from Wisconsin.
Okay.
From Merrill, Wisconsin.
Okay.
Grew up wrestling for Roger Wendorf, Hall of Fame coach. Great program.
Yeah.
Graduated in 1989.
Okay.
Just had a birthday, so I'm 52.
Nice. Nice. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
High school career was good.
Okay.
Two-time state qualifier. My biggest people are shocked when I tell them as a junior, I wrestled heavyweight. I wrestled back at that time it was 275.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
About 235 wrestled heavyweight.
Okay.
Qualified for state that year. My claim to fame, I beat an eventual two-time state champ.
Really?
Yeah.
How was that match? Play that one out.
That was good. That was a 2-3 point match. He was a freshman at the time. I was a junior. He was wrestling for Beaver Dam.
Okay.
At the time, then he transferred. He won his 2 titles at Hartford.
Nice. Yeah. Nice. Okay.
Jim Nordstrom was his name. A name drop. Some people might look that up and
Yeah.
recognize that name. Didn't place that year, and then went in my senior year. The weight classes changed. I dropped. It went to 189 from 185. I'm like, well, 4 pounds, that's a big deal. I can cut from, I was 235 playing football that season as a senior and cut to 189. 30-2, I think, going into the state tournament. One of the losses to state champ out of Illinois.
Okay.
Over the Christmas tournament, I lost to who would eventually be the state champ that year by 3 or 4, had a couple single legs up to my armpit, never scored.
No kidding.
So I was looking forward to that rematch. Worked hard to correct that mistake.
Yeah.
And, this is what I think helps me as a head coach because I can relate to kids when I say, hey, don't bracket jump. Hey,
Yep.
The most important guy is that guy coming out there next.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking to that next guy, you're worried about that next guy.
You haven't even gotten there yet.
You're probably not going to get there.
Yeah.
And I lived it.
Yep.
I experienced it. I did it. So, I'm constantly on my kids to do that. So dropped that opening match my senior year and was done.
Oh, yeah.
Guy I had beaten twice that year took third. So whatever.
What do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Live and learn.
Right.
Mad for a while.
Yep.
And a lot based on that. I mean, I could have played football or wrestled in college. Either one. I had enough. I had enough of wrestling at that point. To be honest, I mean, I was.
Yeah. I see it.
And everybody wrestles says, "Hey, you're crushed."
Yeah.
And so I'm like, you know what? I'm done.
Some guys 6 months, a year. I mean, some guys couple years. I mean, it burns you a little bit. Sure. I get it.
Yeah. So went off and played football D3 level in college, and then really didn't get back into wrestling till much later after I had graduated college. And Keegan, my son, was he was 3 or 4.
Okay.
We were living in Little Chute.
All right.
And he found the old VHS tapes. Right? And he was watching Dad wrestle and totally on his own. I didn't prompt me, you got to watch this. He'd pull them out and he'd watch them all the time. So went to a couple of home Little Chute wrestling matches.
Yeah.
Just went and watched. And one of the assistant coaches one night after I was there, probably 3 or 4 duels in a row, would come up and sat next to me and goes, "Hey, I see you're here all the time. Where are you from?" When I said,
yeah.
I said, I grew up wrestling at Merrill. And right away he goes, "Oh, that's a good program." I'm like, "Yeah, that's good." So he goes, "You must be pretty decent." I said, "Well, I can hold my own." Right?
Yeah, right, right.
And he's like, "Want to come coach with us?" So
nice.
that's what got me back into coaching.
Yeah,
probably. Let's see, Keegan was born in 93, so that was probably 96, 97,
yeah.
98-ish.
Yeah, right when I was graduating. Yeah.
So that's what got me back in. I volunteered, assisted there for a couple years, and moved back to Merrill for a season, and then end up meeting my current wife, who was a Hortonville native, and moved down here, and the rest is history.
So did you grow up in wrestling? Like, how did you get into it? It was in your family already?
Yes. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I started wrestling probably 4 or 5.
Okay. Was your dad a coach? Was
my dad was not. My 2 oldest brothers wrestled.
Okay. You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest.
Okay.
Youngest of 5.
Wow.
3 brothers and a sister. But my second oldest brother, he was probably the best one.
Yeah.
Of the 2 older ones that wrestled. State qualifier back in the 1-class system.
Okay.
1979. Matter of fact, the last year of the 1-class system.
So you're rolling around with good competition with your brothers.
Yeah, absolutely. And he was. Yeah. I mean, he was my first coach. Right. He'd come home from practice. We'd eat dinner, and then we'd push the table out of the way, and then he'd run me through a practice on the old carpet. You know? And so
I know rug burns all too well. Yeah.
So that's what got me going, and
nice.
Lived ever since, and
That's cool.
Yeah.
So as coming up, I mean, obviously, your brothers were in it, but were your parents involved as much as like you see some parents now? Were they in it to win it?
Yes. They I can honestly say through all my wrestling matches from, kindergarten all the way through football games, all the way through college, my parents missed one match. And it's because my brother got married on a Thursday or something crazy.
Had to plan it on that day, right?
Exactly. So that is the only time there was not at least one parent at anything I competed in.
That's cool.
So very supportive.
Yeah.
And I shouldn't tell this story. It's entertaining, I think, and it's been a long time. It just happened probably a week ago.
Okay.
I was talking to my mom on the phone.
Yeah.
And she asked about how we did at the Shawano holiday tournament there, on the 17th of December, and we had taken 3rd.
Yep.
She goes out, and she already knew the answer because she talked to my one brother, but and I kind of knew that. And she's like, "Well, you guys been wrestling?" I said, "Yeah, we wrestled." "Do you have a tournament?" I said, "Yeah, we had a tournament a couple days ago." Mm-hmm. "Well, how'd you do?" I said, "Well, we wrestled all right." She goes, "Well, what'd you place?" I said, "We took 3rd." She goes, "I already knew that." I said, "Yeah." I said, "There's a reason I don't talk wrestling with you, because every time I call, if we didn't win or take first, it's, you didn't? Yeah. How come? What's wrong?" So
that's I know that.
Exactly,
I know that. I did that.
So
with Liam too. It was the same. I mean, when we saw him, it was this way. He was little though. He had a bad day. Yeah. Well, he didn't take first or something like that. Well, what was wrong? Usually you win. We're not. He's just like, "Seriously, guys? No, we don't do it anymore." We do it to a little jab.
Yeah. And she doesn't. It's fun. We'll wrestle Kakana, right?
Yep.
And I used to call all the time on Thursday to give him an update. Like,
sure.
"How'd you do?"
Yep.
"We won 2." "You only won 2 matches?" I'm like, I get it. You don't understand the whole dynamics of everything now. I say, we felt pretty good about winning those 2 matches, because that is what it is.
It's big. But it's always a jab. It's always with Liam too. It's like, "Oh, well, what was the problem?
Yeah.
What did you do?" And there's
a
little elbow to the ribs.
Yeah, it's like, "Well, what kind of coach are you?" So,
hey, it's good to have sometimes, a little bit of a push like that, but it's also, who it's coming from.
Exactly.
That's Mom. So with that being said, they were there for a lot as you started to grow through the sport. When did you notice a turn? So everybody kind of has that moment, as an athlete and as a competitor, when you're out there and you're like, "God, I just can't, seems like I can't get something going," but then all of a sudden, boom, that switch hits. Did you have that moment as a younger athlete or high school time?
Probably older elementary, young, junior high age. Back in my era, 7th, 8th, 9th was junior high.
Sure. Yep.
True story. Mm-hmm. Again, I weighed 101 pounds in kindergarten.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah. So you were a big kid, man. I mean,
I was. So you're wrestling 3rd and 4th graders. Remember, because the dude, there's no kindergartners that weigh 101 pounds. There's nobody even close, So it's like, would the parent of Chris Gennrich please come to the head table?
Yeah.
Mom would go up there. Is it okay if he wrestles third and fourth grade? So, yeah, absolutely. Get him in them. So it started out rough for a while.
Wow.
But then, as I started to get taller and not quite as round, then fifth, sixth grade, things started to click. And then, junior high, boom, things were rolling. And
Nice. Okay. So as you kind of got through into your high school career, who really pushed you in the room? Who were guys that, because you couldn't have been, knowing that your brothers came up wrestling, you had guys you had to compete with. Who were guys that really pushed you in the room?
I was, very fortunate, had great teammates. At the time, Merrill was, up at their peak. And, battling, top 4 or 5 teams in the state. Always had Wisconsin Rapids in the conference.
Correct.
Never a conference championship team, but always right there battling with, some of the top teams. So I had a lot of great practice partners.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate when I list off these coaches that were on staff when I was in high school. Roger Wendorf in and of itself as a head coach. Randy Hill, there's a name.
Okay, I remember that name.
Yeah, used to be an official too. An ex-Badger wrestler. He was an assistant coach. Dave Brandvold.
Okay.
He was Terry Manning.
Yep, I know of Terry. Yep.
Marty Loy.
Yes, Loy you hear a lot about actually in the gyms, man.
Those were the guys that were in our room, and those last couple, Loy and Manning and Brandville, they were right out of college. They were a couple years competing. So those were the guys I had in the room to roll with.
Brandville's definitely a competitor name that I remember. Not so much coaching, but definitely as an athlete. I remember hearing about that.
Yep. So. It was kind of interesting when Trevor, his son, right, wrestled for the Badgers. And
I'm going to order you a water here quick.
Okay. Go ahead. And then was coaching with the Badgers. He when Keegan was going through the recruiting process, he was the main guy recruiting Keegan. And so
really,
So I showed
machine gun.
Yeah, I had a picture of him when he couldn't have been a year old when Dad was sitting in the corner coaching, the old metal med kits between his feet, and there's Trevor just barely big enough to hold himself up and look over there. I remember when Trevor's mom was pregnant with him. Right now it's kind of come full circle where that's kind of a neat story. But so those were the coaches I had in the room, and shout out to still my best friend Pete Dietz. He was a really good state qualifier for Merrill, so we would scrap. And so
nice. So when you got just to kind of keep going through the high school, getting into when you're getting done with high school, what was your thought process when you're getting done, like as senior year, wrestling, not wrestling, whatever it was? What were you kind of thinking in your head as you were going through that process?
I knew immediately. Whatever that February 24th or 5th, whatever the date was, when that match went sideways and I walked off the mat, I'm like, I had to. I was done. Seriously. So I knew right then. It was going to be the football path after that.
Okay.
I know kids don't do it anymore, but back in our day, every time you won a tournament, right, you put the thumbtacks out and you put the chart on the wall, right? Yeah. I walked in the house that Sunday after getting back from Madison, and every thumbtack came out of the wall, everything off the wall, and my mom's in tears, right? So, I knew it. But then now the crazy thing is, I think back, and that probably was maybe the best thing for me to have to deal with that, because like I said, it helps me tremendously as a coach. It helps me relate to those guys, and now I think about it. Wrestling's my life now. It's 24/7, and
there's no water there.
Thank you.
Yeah. But so football comes up, and as you're going through that, and like you told us as we kind of left off where you came to Little Chute area, and you start talking more and more about wrestling. I'm sure you guys, like you said, you were around it. You were going and watching it. Yep. Keegan had pulled up the VHS tapes, stuff like that. So when that all starts to get fired up, like, what are you thinking? Like, is it something like you're going, oh man, am I going to be able to, like, as a coach, kind of, do you question yourself right away, or you're ready to do it again? You're just excited about it.
I was ready to get back in.
Okay. Yeah,
a lot of years of maturity, you know, and able to kind of put it in perspective a little bit. Not, and not that it doesn't hurt a little bit. I mean, even sometimes every day, I'm like, oh man, dude, what did I do? How did that go south? I mean, but then you sit back, man, that's 30 plus years ago. Let it go.
Yep.
So no, and then having Keegan then wanted to get involved, and once I got back on the mat and started rolling, oh yeah, this is good. And
I remember this. This is cool. Yeah, so that's, I mean, I kind of got the same. Like once Liam started again, I wasn't good at wrestling. I quit. Everybody knows I quit my just before my junior year. I was just no way. I'm not as good as my brother was. I was better at soccer, so I knew I was going to do that. So I hung up my wrestling boots. But at the same time, once Liam and my older son Bryce started to wrestle again, I was like, okay. I remember this, and it was, but now it's different though, because wrestling's way different.
Yeah.
Wrestling has turned a gigantic corner from when we were kids. I mean, back then it was all about like double legs, single legs, half Nelsons, cradles.
Yeah.
The
funk didn't exist.
There was nothing real. It was all just meat and potatoes, you know, that kind of stuff. And then these guys started wrestling, and it was like, oh man, this is kind of cool. I like kind of stuff that they're doing. So now as we start, you have a prolific coaching life here. I mean, how long have you been at Hortonville coaching?
This is my 21st year.
Wow.
As the head coach.
Wow.
Yeah.
Who's up there with longevity? You, Machek?
Yeah.
Is that about it?
I'm trying to think.
I don't know.
Yeah, as far as, you know, around here, FVA conference. Yeah. Matzek, but
it's 330 schools that have coaches, so I don't remember all of them, but I know you guys have been around
for a while.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a crazy story in itself, how I got
Little Shoot though. How did you were you just an assistant coach?
Volunteer assistant. I came in and worked with the heavyweight, him and I.
Okay.
You know, because
you had a mission right when you came in.
Yeah. Like, here, work with this guy.
Yep.
You know, and so that it was him and I. Boom, we, you know, go off to the side and
how did you
our stuff?
Did you then from there get to Hortonville? The crazy story.
Then my wife at the time, we moved back to Merrill, back to the
homeland,
back to the homeland. So then got in the room with Arnie had taken over from Roger at that point. So got back in the room and rolled with the guys there, just helping out. Yeah, just get my own workouts in and roll with some guys. The divorce happened and. I met my current wife. She's here in Hortonville.
Okay. Yep.
And she's living in Appleton at the time, but whatever. She's a Hortonville grad.
Yeah.
At the time, I went back to school. I spent a year coaching football at UW Stevens Point.
Oh, okay.
In there.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So while I was doing that, I'm like, well, my first degree wasn't teaching. Right. So I didn't have a teaching certificate. So I'm like, well, while I'm here, I might as well take a couple classes because I always wanted to be a Phi Ed teacher.
Okay.
When I started college, like, there's way too many. You're never going to find a job, blah, blah, blah. Yeah. So got talked out of it. Yeah. But that was my love because I knew I wanted to coach.
Well, from football to wrestling, it seems like you've been around it forever. So
yeah, I mean, I knew I wanted to coach from probably about sixth grade.
Right on.
Just watching Roger Wendorf, a big influence in my life. Yeah. So I'm like, I want to be this guy. So took care of that, got my teaching certificate. Did my student teaching then, right in Hortonville's the only school district I know as a professional teacher. I did my student teaching there.
Wow.
And got hired right in after that. Boom.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you're part of that community forever.
Yeah.
Now. So yeah. Cool.
So I spent my first year as a volunteer assistant for Dave Moe.
Okay. Yep.
The old head coach who'd been there for 20 plus years. After that season, people that know Hortonville will recognize the name Mike Sexton. He was the athletic director at the time. Okay, colorful character. We'll leave it. We'll leave it at that. Very colorful.
Right on.
Love him to death. So I had no idea. Dave had never said anything to me that he was stepping down, resigning.
Yeah,
and it was probably mid-March, late March. It was warm enough where at the time the way that Hortonville High School is constructed. If you walked outside, you could exit the building and walk across a little courtyard to get in on the other end instead of walking all the way through the hallways, and it was a little faster route. Okay. So that was common back then. We did that.
Yeah.
So I was cutting across there to go to the other end of the building, and Mike, the AD, was coming the other side, and he stops me, and he talked. He had this big, gruff voice, right? This is how he talked.
Yeah.
I won't continue with that invitation. Yeah. But he says to me, he says, hey, Chris, he said, and he called David. He goes, David gave me his resignation. He's done coaching. I said, oh, really?
News to you, obviously, right?
Yeah. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
He goes, and he mentioned in his letter that you'd be a great replacement. I said, that'd be, and I'm still young, right? This is my second year as a teacher, right?
Yeah.
You know? He goes, so would you be interested?
Yeah.
And me being professional, Mike, I would love the opportunity to interview for that job.
Nice. Yeah.
He goes, well, do you want it? I said, Mike, hey, if I get the opportunity, you want to interview me? I would love it. And he looks at me and he shakes his head. He goes, in his gravelly voice, you just don't get it, man. Do you want the job or not? I'm like, well, yeah, I want it. He goes, then it's yours. He goes, and I've got one piece of advice for you. And he told me that advice. He goes, I'll never try to, give you coaching advice ever again. Like, perfect. I walked to my office. I called Jody, my wife. I said, I'm not quite sure, but I think I just got the head wrestling coaching job.
I said,
I'm not. It's real. And so
there you go. Yeah. So your first, who was all involved in your first year? Do you have a list of athletes you remember from your first year?
Oh, absolutely. Well, see, that's why I couldn't believe Dave walked out when he did.
Okay.
He had a couple of real studs.
Yeah.
One was going to be a senior the following year, and one was going to be a junior the next season. So my first year, I'm coaching in the state finals. I've got a guy. My first year, I end up coaching a state runner-up and a third place finisher.
Holy cow!
Right? So the senior Tyler Jentz went off and was a national runner-up for college D3 his senior year there.
Wow.
So I'm coaching him in the finals. I'm thinking, this isn't such a hard gig.
Yeah.
Year one.
This is easy.
I'm going to get used to coaching in this corner on Saturday nights, right? Like, wow, right? He lost a 3-1 match to one of the Blumenthal's.
Okay.
Eddie.
Yep.
And so he finished as a runner-up, and then the junior that year, Jared Hart.
Yeah.
He ended up taking third. And like I said, I'm walking out of the Kohl Center at first. I'm like,
what year? What year is this?
Oh, 2002.
Okay.
2001, 2002, something like that.
I tell everybody too, because I was in soccer for so long, and then because I turned wrestling off. Like, I didn't pay attention to who was in it, who was doing it, nothing.
Right.
Until my kids got into it. Then I started paying attention. So those years are like lost.
Right.
Those are dark years of like not knowing wrestling. But just to know now, having gone to the state championship and knowing it's your first year, and I mean, just the kids have pressure themselves. Right. Now you're also there as a coach, competing as a coach, and that's intense. Yes. So your first year, awesome, right?
Yeah.
So what happens the second year? I mean, you said you still had some of those guys left from that year. So was it still pretty good?
Oh yeah. The third place finish from the year before was back. Yep. Jared was back. And had some other real good seniors in that group that I'm like, hey, we got a shot to get, more than one back to the Kohl Center.
Yep.
Ended up just getting Jared back through banged up, messed up shoulders and fingers, and he was in rough. We were holding him together with tape.
Yeah.
By the time we got there, and let's see, one is opening round, then Wally O'Connor from Oshkosh West.
Okay.
Ended up being the state runner-up. We lost him by a point.
Oh, really?
In that next round. Then we won our first wrestle back, and then injury defaulted in the next one. I couldn't finish.
Okay. So you at this time too. Now you spoke. Obviously, I forget. People are from the Fox Valley. They know who Keegan is.
Yes.
So with that being said, you turn into a coach. Whilst obviously you are a coach when you have this son, right?
Right.
So he's into wrestling. As you're coaching, where is he in the mix of all this? Is he coming along to he's hanging out in the high school room and stuff like that? He gets to roll around with all these guys?
He's was in the room every night.
Was he?
Every night. On the bus, every tournament.
Okay.
So yeah. He was a mat rat.
Was he?
All the time. Yeah.
So how was that? What was that experience like as a dad? Not only just coaching him, obviously, from the beginning, but I mean, and I know a little bit, obviously, with Liam, but I'm not a coach. I'm just a dude that knows a little bit about sport. Coming up as a coach, though, do you see yourself you want other people to coach him? Where you kind of haven't, or where you were like, no way, this is mine?
I'd say more the latter.
Yeah.
It was like, hey, I got an idea. I see what he does. I see what he likes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know him. We can make and he, especially younger on, I'm not so much, he might answer it differently now that he's older and gained some wisdom, but I think he really enjoyed me coaching him as a youngster and wanted.
You would know. I mean,
exactly,
there would either be like he'd walk away from you or something like that and doesn't want you to coach him more.
Right,
but, so you guys were tight. I mean, you could see in the pictures when he was in at state. You're right there, and So
and I think we did a good job. And I love giving advice to youth wrestling parents and stuff because, and I always tried to make sure that I practiced what I preached.
Sure.
We always made it fun. Yes, when we went there and it was time to be on the mat, hey, we were there to compete. We're going to compete hard, but there was always ice cream on the way home. There was never sitting and breaking down the matches for 2 hours as we're driving home from Sauk Prairie. It's like, let's stop at the Culvers here. Let's get a cone, and hang out. And hang out.
Yeah.
So, I always tried to do that. I will say it was always hard, especially my first couple of years as the head coach and him being a youth wrestler. And then even when he was in high school, it's like when he would lose a match.
Sure.
I would be, oh man, what are the other parents thinking? What are the other parents of the other? Coach can't even get his kid to win. He just lost a match. How's he going to get my kid to win a match?
Sure. Yeah.
So that was in my mind a lot.
Yeah.
So that was tough. That was probably the toughest thing about the whole thing.
Putting dual teams together and stuff. I guess I didn't think of it that way, but that's interesting that I didn't, because you do. I mean, you're coaching other people's kids, and you got your kid on the team too, and you're like, okay, but that's a weight. So speaking of the pressures of coaching, I mean, so you had some successful years, just out of the get go, and people, and I know that some people said it about with Kluskins too, as far as you inherited something. You know, you don't always inherit great things, but there's a mix. But you had a good thing that you inherited. Awesome. Yep. What happens after that, though? I mean, was there a time where you maybe where there were, obviously there's not everybody that goes out for high school wrestling has been wrestling for 9 years.
Right.
You got new guys, so you do have periods where there's just all the guys who are really putting the work in, whatever it is. And so it's not to point fingers at anybody that did wrestle or didn't wrestle, but you do have years. You have years where you got the new guys that are always kind of on the top of the thing. So at what point, how did you have those same thoughts in your head too? Like when you guys were kind of having maybe a harder year, 1 year kind of thing?
I guess there were a couple lean years. So in 21 years, I guess as a head coach, I think there was only 2, maybe 3 where we didn't get a state qualifier. And if we have a state qualifier, we always had a place or what.
Okay.
I've doubled my state place. We got like 42 in 21 years. So, And when you think about some place, that's not good. But when you think about the regionals and sectionals we have to go through, it was always Rapids.
Yeah.
Early on when they were at their peak.
It was tough. Yeah. It wasn't easy.
Yeah. For most of the time you could look at Rapids. Well, at 14 weight classes, they're taking 8 spots.
Yep.
So you're wrestling for a few spots.
Yep.
So to get guys through, you get that handful of guys through, and that was huge.
That was huge.
Then
I agree.
in more recent times now, with Kaukauna and the Bay, it's
tough.
It's tough. You get guys through, you're happy, and we always say, and it's true. You follow wrestling here. If you get through our sectional estate, you're placing. The odds are great. 1 year I counted it up out of 24 place qualifiers. I think we had 21 place winners.
Yeah.
So
yep.
So yeah, there was a couple years where it was a little bit leaner.
I wrestled at North. I know about lean years. I mean, we had some lean ones, especially once I was older and I wasn't wrestling, and I remember.
Right. But I've always been pretty fortunate to had great middle school coaches and great youth programs. So I've always had quality guys coming into the room, and so always pretty competitive. It was. Did I inherit some good guys? But I think as a program, I think we've grown immensely since what it was.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you guys still put a lot of points up on the board, man. It's not like when you guys run into a gym or anything like that, like you guys are just getting skunked. So, and I just from the years of having, where Liam's wrestled, stuff like that, watching you guys and seeing, Eric Barnett, all those guys come through, and having Keegan come through. Those were the years I kind of missed, where they were, as far as the older guys now that are coaching, and that's a benefit, as far as you can even see some of the guys that came from this area, went to college, are coming back and putting that knowledge into the room as far as current wrestling. Yeah. You had the advantage of having that as well, with there's obviously Eric Barnett, but several other wrestlers that do come back and run camps or, just work with the kids in the room. Do you notice a benefit of having those guys coming around and maybe possibly being like, hey, no one coaches forever. You know, I mean, and I'm not saying you're ready to retire, but do you get these guys in the room? You kind of like, yeah, maybe this guy might work out. You know, do you feel yourself kind of sizing guys up a little bit to make sure that the program stays that direction?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, guys come in like, oh man, it'd be great if he settles down in the area.
Yeah,
you know, yeah. But it's great. Like I said, guys come back. I mean, kind of, you know, just to throw, I was fortunate. I coached Hortonville's first ever state wrestling champ.
Yeah.
2008, Anthony Vandehei. So, you know, he would come back in. I'm like, oh man, it'd be nice. But, you know, and it's tough. Those guys that are, you know, 22, 23 years old, they don't, it's tough to make that big commitment.
Thinking about it yet.
Yeah. They've got, you know,
right.
But yeah, so no, I do size guys up when they come in and say, oh, maybe this guy will stick around. But to be honest, people always ask, how much longer are you staying around? And I always tell them, I've got 19 more years. Yeah. Because my goal is to be head coach for 40. So
nice.
So we'll see.
You're stuck with me, man.
We'll see if the body holds up.
So that's another question. Do you still roll around with your guys in the room?
I do.
Do you?
I do. Oh, yeah.
So when you're there doing what it's, I don't know, what you're 20, however many, and now you're wrestling guys that are 15, 16, 17, 18. And a lot of them are in really great shape. You know, you got football players.
A lot of them are really strong.
Right, exactly. So at the end of the day, you cook a lot. Like you barbecue and stuff like that. Do you find yourself kind of, is that like, you're like, I got to heal my body, you know? So as far as you looking into like the nutrition, stuff like that, I mean, you cook like barbecue. What's that called? What's it called? You had that sign made up.
Wrestling Hogs Barbecue.
Yeah.
So that's my smoking moniker there, you know.
Right. So I think it's interesting that you do that. Was a lot of what you do as far as the cooking you do and things like that, they help you heal?
No. Gosh, no. I mean, anybody who, you know, you watch the professional smokers and the whole smoking thing, you know, you're rehydrating while you're smoking. It's probably isn't the best rehydration. So, you know, anybody who knows me, my diet is terrible. I mean, people's like,
coming from whatever you said you wrestled at, how you look now. I'm going to tell everybody he's in shape. Okay. He doesn't look like he's 270 pounds, none of this garbage. He looks like he's in shape. So you barbecue,
I eat terrible. I still get up and run 4 or 5, for sure 4 times a week. I try to get 4 miles a day.
Sure.
And then in the room wrestling, you know, not just during the season, but during the off season. But I need to, because ice cream and chips and peanut butter on a spoon. Yeah. Those are my go-to meals right there. And I'm not, people out there going, he's telling the truth. Absolutely.
That's lean.
When my wife hears this, she's going to be like, yep, that's it. I didn't meet a bag of chips or a cookie I ever walked away from.
I can agree with you there. I can definitely agree with you there. So as far as the longevity of coaching, I mean, there's a mental side to athletics, obviously. And you, like you said, you're able to share experiences that you had. Psychologically coaching, what's that? I mean, I've coached, but I've never coached like you have. A head coach of a school, of a team. I mean, you got fundraising, you got all this stuff. I mean, so what do you do on a day-to-day basis besides cooking and running? I mean, what do you do to keep your psychological side on the bright side? Because you seem like a pretty happy dude.
Yeah, for the most part.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You got good things going on, but what do you do?
I'm always 100% honest. I tell my wrestlers that I'm going to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So full disclosure.
Yeah.
I don't have a hobby. Smoking is probably the closest thing I have to a hobby. I don't hunt. I don't fish. I don't snowmobile. I don't motorcycle. You name it.
Regularly, but do you do the stuff sometimes? Like once in a great while? No. Just do whatever.
No,
you're home.
This is why I'm going to coach for 40 years and teach forever, because going to work is fun. Yeah. I love going to work. I love being in high school. I love teaching.
You're passionate about it.
It is. I love coaching. When I'm home, I'm probably thinking about wrestling or watching wrestling or talking about wrestling in my head, seriously, or talking with Keegan, or just hang out and watch some movies. And like I said, smoke some ribs or something. Yeah. That's how I relax, get down. So you're one of the lucky ones. You're passionate about the thing that you're doing for a living. I am. I'm very lucky.
That's for sure. Sweet. Yeah. You don't get that very often. Yeah. So as far as the future, I mean, let's talk about the team this year. Obviously, people know all about the Ski Buzz. Mm-hmm. Skiba. I'll say that again. Don't worry, RQ. It's fine. But you have the Skiba boys. You got Niebauer. You got a slew of kids. I mean, how are things sizing up so far this season for you guys?
Good. I'd say we're right on track where I thought we'd be.
Yep.
Griffin Jen's in there. He's
yep.
he's kind of that quiet.
Sorry,
one
Griffin. I remember you. Sorry, Griffin.
He's just one I want to talk about a little bit.
Yeah.
There was a kid who he's an excellent baseball player. He's a two-sport guy.
That's right.
Baseball.
Yep.
Baseball and wrestling.
Yep.
And for years, I mean, he'd be at Aviators at Nazar's, all summer long, wrestling, do all the freestyle Greco and playing baseball, doing both. Mm-hmm. Had a little injury-plagued season his freshman year, incredible freshman year.
Yeah.
Injured a little bit, took a step away and just did baseball. Did baseball all spring. Didn't really get on a
Was
mat.
that last year?
Yeah, just this last spring. Yeah, didn't do freestyle Greco. And I think if Griff was sitting right here, baseball's his true love.
Okay,
that's his first love.
Yeah, there's a couple of guys there around here like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, but he's a phenomenal wrestler too. But he just took some time away just to kind of heal up and just I don't know, a physical but mental break. So I was kind of interested to see them once the season started. How's Griff going to be doing? It's like one of those things you kind of alluded to. Well, was he really good because he was training 365? Boom, boom, and so see where he picks up from, and he came in and took him a practice or two for the rust to get off a little bit.
Sure,
and I even made a comment to him. I said, Griff, I said, wow, I said this is really nice. Seeing you,
this is knocking dust off.
Yeah. I'm like, wow, yeah, we're doing all right. Yeah. So
that's good. Yeah. Griffin's always been a good wrestler. I know, just seeing him around Aviators and stuff like that. He's always been a competitor. He's just one of those kids that never quit.
Yeah.
And you can tell why. I mean, obviously, to be able to do two sports is, it's pretty tough, especially as you get older as a kid, and that's his one love. So good to hear that he's coming back and doing even better. I as far as seeing some of the matches, I know I saw a couple of his, but he looks this like old Griffin,
exactly.
Right
I'm
back
glad
to where
you
he
said
left
that.
off.
Yeah, because I'm watching it. He didn't miss a beat.
Not at all.
And he's so, of course, I love watching all my athletes wrestle, but there's some you just sit back and you just kind of really enjoy. And he is one guy I just sit back. I kind of sit in a chair.
Yep.
I'm never too stoked up really, and getting after because I'm very confident he's going to go out there.
Yeah.
And he's going to do what Griff does, and it's going to be very good. And
he's got a great support system too.
Yeah. Oh, mom and dad are great.
Yep.
But his style is just so fun to watch. It's always he always looks so, and I wish I would have been this way. He always just looks so smooth and effortless.
Yeah, fluid.
Yes, just flows.
Yep.
Like he's hardly even trying. It's like you watch those really fast guys
Mm-hmm.
and the NFL combines run their 40-yard dash.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like, are they even trying? They're just kind of gliding. And then they run a 4.3. Like,
okay.
So I really, it's fun to, and I've told his mom and dad several times, I'd pay money to go in the gym and just watch him wrestle for a while. It's fun to watch a guy like that.
And I remember him and Liam wrestled in middle school, and I think it was Liam's like 6th grade year or something like that. And they were both nervous to wrestle each other. Yeah. They practiced against each other all the time.
Right.
But you could tell because neither one of them really did anything.
Yeah.
Neither one would shoot.
Right.
And both of them did, though. That was the thing. Right. It was like, what is going on here with this match? And Griffin beat him by a point, And so, but it's always, and it was just fluid stuff. Yeah. It was just him doing what he does. Right. Yeah. But so that's, I mean, he's a good one. I know Niebauer's always been a fun one to watch.
I was just going to say, Henry is, his scrambles and his funking ability is crazy.
It's crazy.
Yeah. And there's another, you just kind of sit in the chair. You don't really have to coach much because you don't know what's going to come next. We're going to grab this. We're going to roll through this. We're going to grab a hold of that, and we'll see where we end up.
Yeah.
But he's really now, since probably halfway through last year and now really into this year, he's really developed some strong fundamental stuff too. He's got a great double leg that he can fall back on, and he's hit it several times, run through people's chest with his face, and then it's like, whoa, and he's got a sneaky little headlock he'll throw out there at people. So he's getting much more well-rounded and obviously then much more difficult to wrestle and figure out, well, what are you going to get? Well, you can do a lot of things now, and a lot of things well.
He could tell he gets obsessed with something. Because Liam had mentioned that because they were practicing together at Nazar, and he gets obsessed with trying to figure something out, trying to get it right. So there's a roll through he would always do. Liam would get a single leg, and he'd try to roll through and kind of scramble through it. And Liam comes from AW. He's like, he keeps trying to scramble with me, And I said, but he's trying to figure it out. Like you can tell he's doing it over and over and over, and he's obsessed with it. She's like, yeah, but I want him to do something else.
Yeah.
I was like, he's not gonna.
No,
he's not
that's
gonna.
him.
And that's awesome.
yeah.
That's to have that mindset of just trying to figure things out and just plowing through it.
And he's so, I mean, his personality, he's like a Jekyll and Hyde on and off the mat. I mean, pretty quiet, doesn't say a whole lot off the mat. He's starting to open up and talk a little bit more, which I love because he's got great personality once you peel back some of the layers.
Yeah.
But boy, when he gets on the mat, it's like it's just obsessed. Like somebody flips the switch and it's like,
yep.
geez.
Yep.
Where did this kid come from?
Saw that in the practice room, that's for sure.
So,
it's cool to see.
Yeah.
So you have those couple guys, and obviously we mentioned the Skibas. You know, Nolan's been having some pretty decent matches coming around, and you got a nice match against Petey. Sorry, Lucas, but we got to talk about this, okay? So he caught him. I think he caught him twice and same thing.
Yeah.
And in I'll say in Petey's defense, looked like things weren't going well with his legs, things like that. But he capitalized.
He did, and and I it rarely happens to me. I'll be honest, where I'll say some great bit of coaching advice to the kid, and it comes out and it comes true. I'm like,
yep, yeah.
And I want to think, I hope he remembers I said that because they're gonna actually think I do know what I'm talking about, right? So
you don't want that,
right? So we'll go off down that tangent in a second. But so he's getting ready to go out to the mat, right? And so I got to come up with something good to say to him, right? And I said, hey, Nolan, I said, just like we talked about a couple weeks ago, how you're gonna win. Hey, make it a long match. It's 6 minutes. I said, he's going to have 4 good minutes left. He's going to have 4 good minutes left. He said, we got to be close enough to win it in the last 2.
In the lion's den.
Yeah. He was like, okay. And then I'm like, it worked out. I'm like, and as you come on, I'm like, huh. Yeah. Myself, God, I hope no one remembers that.
That was good. And again, obviously, it hit us a little differently. But that's wrestling, and that's competition.
Yes,
and it'll catch up. I think to everybody. I think once they have matches like that. I mean, that's exciting for a kid, And just talking, I talked to him. I kind of texted him a little bit on Instagram after the match. It's like, hey, man. I was like, you kept going. Yeah. It didn't matter to you, and you kept going. So that's the competitor's mentality you want.
And we preach that so much in the room. And ever since I took over, I mean, we're not going to wow anybody with wild, crazy, fancy technique. We're going to get in, shake somebody's hand.
That's not what wins.
No, we're going to grind it out. We're going to grind it out, and we'll see who's got the most left at the end, and we'll get after it.
So with the rest of the Wyatt's doing well.
Yeah.
List off a couple because I know more other guys than this on your team.
Tristan Ellerman.
Yes,
there's a guy because he was a 106 pounder last year.
Another kid that's going to punch me the next time I see him. I can't believe I don't remember these guys, but Tristan's great.
Yeah. Yep. So he's wrestling 126.
Okay.
Now, and there's a guy where kind of early on got pushed out when Skibas dropped down early and came back up. So
competition.
Yeah, exactly. So it's now back in. So our lineup just got
even
a lot stronger, right?
Yeah.
We got our regular 6-pounder back in now a couple weeks ago.
Yep.
So that helps. But so there's Tristan. Tej Wasman's been around for
okay. And I don't know Tej much.
Yeah. He's been at Avian, and again he's a quiet guy. 500, little better wrestler. Okay. But
in this conference, that's all right.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
And with our tournament schedule too, but just a junior and improves every year. And so, I mean, he's definitely on an upward trajectory. He's doing fine for us. So he's been around a long time.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I've got one senior on this year's team. Well, two.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Last year, I graduated one senior.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I got tons of juniors coming back. My whole lineup coming back except for Wyatt.
Nice.
So
you got a solid squad then still.
Yeah.
Well, it's going to be fun next year then, because Kakana's graduating like almost all their team.
Yeah.
And we got some young guys coming up too. Right. We got good guys. Obviously, we got DeGroot and we got Sprangers and we got it's like 3 or 4 other guys that are down there. Actually, we need the big guys. That's kind of where we're at.
That's where we're at too. I mean,
what's with that?
Hey, if you know the answer to that,
what's with that?
Let me know.
Because for a while it was the little guys.
Yeah,
you couldn't find the little guys for a while. As far as just kid not being fresh, kind of thing. But then now it's the big guys, and we got Nehemiah on our squad. And I told that built football kid. I was like, oh my god! I was like, Liam, get your hands on that kid. Yeah. He's athletic. I said, anything you can do with these guys that are newer and they got a passion for it, get your hands on them.
Yeah.
And push them a little bit more and see where they're willing to go. Do you find now? That's another question I have for you. What kind of philosophy do you have in the room as far as anytime you see your kids kind of getting down or just your philosophy in general, what's your vision for a wrestling room when these kids come in every single year, especially when you got fresh kids that don't know anything? What do you try to plant in their heads this is what we expect here?
You know, I guess, looking at the new guys coming in, the freshmen coming in, or guys just new to the room, it's, hey, come in, expect to work hard. Yeah. I'm going to push, we're going to work hard. I tell them early on in the first 2.5 weeks, I'm going to throw a crap ton of stuff at you. We're going to throw, hey, you guys that are newer, younger, you're freshmen, grab what you can. We'll always circle back to it. Yep. Just grasp any of the new stuff you can, but just come in, battle and work hard. We're pretty simple, basic fundamentals, good positioning and stuff like that, and hold your position, break the other guy's position. So
and build from there.
Build from there. And,
right on.
And I don't know, I guess somebody told me this once years ago, another coach, Hortonville's such a hard team to kind of prepare for. Yeah. Because you don't all do the same thing. It's not like, hey, we're going to go wrestle these guys and it's going to, hey, cradles, arm bars, this. I teach a lot of stuff and I let people grasp what they like and what they can make work. Yeah. And then we'll fine tune and hone in on that. So,
well, I'll tell you, wrestling you guys, there were matches where you're just like, shit. Yeah. Came to wrestle, man. Like it wasn't, and it's not like it was just a trompsing kind of thing, like watching the guys wrestle and things. Yeah. It was just like these guys are competitive, like no matter what.
Yeah, no, and that's kind of the mantra in our room all the time. Come and fight.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
every time I've watched you guys battle, man.
And we always say I think it helps us a lot. We prepare for each opponent, each team, each tournament the same way.
Are you a video team? Or you sit down and watch video?
We use Matt Boss. The guys, go in and watch their film. Okay. I will pull it up. I'll write comments on there. Okay. With our new room coming in, we'll be, I think, using film a lot more. But I said whether we're wrestling Kana or we're wrestling, an average team or wrestling maybe a team that is struggling. Yep. Doesn't matter.
Your preparation's consistent.
the same, and it's all about, and I really got into this, the last 5 or 6 years, really helping Keegan train for his fights. Mm-hmm. Be the best version of yourself.
Okay. Yep.
Whether you're going out against the state champ or the guy who's 0-100, this is the expectation. This is where the bar is when you put on the Hortonville singlet. 110%. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who it is. You take care of what you can control your preparation, control the ties, control the setups, control the pace, and worry about you. Mm-hmm. After that, the wins and losses take care of themselves. And, if you win, great. If you, tip your hat to that guy. You were the best version of yourself at that point in time. He was a little bit better at that time.
Sound advice. Yeah. Sound advice. And at the end of the day, that's the one thing that because I hated losing. And a lot, who doesn't? Right. Or who likes losing? Right. But that's kind of where I couldn't get roadblocks, in my brain. I couldn't get past that fact. Right. I could be okay with a loss in soccer because it was a team effort. I couldn't let that loss be on myself, and I couldn't handle that. Yeah. And that was the biggest portion of why I couldn't wrestle. But that is just even more of a testament to these kids, especially that carry through into college and stuff like that. Like,
it's amazing.
I know that even, going into college, just being in college itself isn't easy, and now you're adding in athletics and trying to grind through it. I'm sure Barnett knows that just well, turning the corner like he did. I didn't expect to see him turn the corner that he did. Okay. And he is just pounding guys, so you could definitely tell there's a mental change that has to happen coming as a young man to a man,
right? Oh, sure.
So speaking of man, you're dealing with man stuff as far as building a new room.
Yeah.
What's going on with that?
They tell me, and I heard last week, they said January 2nd. So when we go back to school on Monday, it'll be done. Well, not completely done enough so we can move our mats in and start practicing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's nice. It's big.
Is it?
It's
how many mats?
Beautiful. 4 long, and it's not just that it's
like full high school size mats.
Yeah.
Like wow.
Yeah. It's not only 4 mats long, but there's like a 10-foot walkway outside the mat area. So like when you walk into the room, it's like, oh, you're on the mats.
Wow.
No, we got a long corridor hallway just off, kind of the half wall type thing that you're familiar with.
Sure.
That walkway. You know, 4 mats. And there's going to be cubby hole lockers there and benches, and so you got a big walkway, and then walk right out onto the mats.
You gonna have your own weight room in there too?
No.
Okay.
No, not
just but the wrestling room itself is going to be 4 mats wide, and then it's almost like I guess kind of a spectator area that's off on the side, kind of with the wall. Yeah. Nice. Yeah. You guys,
brand new office up there.
Oh,
yeah. That thing I really love when they said, "Hey, what do you want? What do you need?" I said, "We need windows."
Okay.
And we've got not just the small windows up. There's 6x6 windows.
Wow.
There's 13 of them.
Letting the light in.
Let the light in.
That's going to be perfect.
Yeah, it faces the south, so all afternoon the sun comes in.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Just sweating there.
Yeah.
Just
let's hope.
Baking, sweating.
Yeah. Yep.
Nice. So how long has that been going on? I guess I remember Liam talking about it a while back, but
they passed the referendum. Boy, it must be a couple years ago now. Yeah. And I think they finally broke ground early this spring.
Okay. Wow, they got that done.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
Fast. Yeah, real fast. So yeah, they were grinding it out.
That's
sure.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I've spent 50 minutes of your time here, Coach. I know you got other things going on, stuff to do, but I do appreciate you coming on to the show.
Absolutely, my pleasure.
I'm going to try and get more of you guys on here towards the end of the season as we start kind of getting towards state time. I'm even trying to, and this is all, I haven't even really done much yet on it, but I want to try and maybe do a show just before state starts.
Oh, nice.
And if coaches are willing to or want to, I'm going to try and find a location where you can have like a, thing of chips sitting off to the side. We can sit there and talk at one of those bars right on the main drag down there, just hanging out.
Absolutely.
So if guys are around, we'll shoot messages out and see if you guys are available and see if we can talk a little bit about your weekend coming up. So
for sure. Yeah. Hey, anytime I can talk wrestling,
it's the best.
Game. Yeah,
it's the best.
Absolutely.
That's why we do it. So then I'm going to end it again. We always end it with the music because, it's just part of the show, right?
Iconic.
And that's the thing is, unfortunately, guys that are like us, I can't hear it, so they can't get as pumped up. So they'll turn it on their phone. But much appreciated again, Coach.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to end it on this. Everybody, hope you enjoyed the show. Everybody, we appreciate you listening. Tune in next week as well. Have a good one. All of our episodes are brought to you by Appleton Tattoo, located at 117 South Appleton Street in Appleton, Wisconsin, right off the main drag on College Avenue. You can't miss them. I've had some work done. I have a Celtic cross that covers my back that was done by Jason. We're not done yet. Jason Winans and crew, the artists that he have there, those guys are the best in the Fox Valley. They are definitely one to go to if it's something that you've just been kind of throwing around. They'll make you feel comfortable. It's a very clean environment, very nice crew, and very willing to get done whatever you need done when you need it done. You can message them on Facebook. I know they're on Facebook. You can give them a call at 920-604-8289 and get in touch with Jason Winans and crew at Appleton Tattoo, located again in Appleton, Wisconsin at 117 South Appleton Street, right in Appleton. Very flexible hours, great crew, clean environment again. I would not send you anywhere else except for these guys. Appleton Tattoo.